There's something about the game Expedition 33 that just grabs your attention, and I'm not just talking about the graphics or the visuals. It's the clarity, it's the cohesion, the feeling that every design decision came from a place of intent. In this video, I want to explore the art direction behind the game Expedition 33. Not just break down what makes it visually stunning, but to uncover the creative lessons we can learn from how it was made. So whether you're a concept artist, maybe an art director or student, or you're just trying to find your own creative voice, there's going to be something here for you. So a lot of this is my own interpretation on this, and I'd love to hear your interpretation below. There's not going to be really any spoilers, maybe some on a surface level, because I am just going to break down and talk a lot about the visual style, the design, and some of the history behind it. And if you are unfamiliar, Expedition 33 is a stylish, turn-based, role-playing game developed by Sandfall Interactive. It's set in a richly imaginative fantasy world where a mysterious celestial force erases people from existence once they reach the age of 33. This mystical number marked in the distance. Basically, if you took the gameplay structure of classic Final Fantasy, the designs and the aesthetics of Dark Souls, and the poeticness of Nier Automata, you have Chiaroscuro, Expedition 33. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Tyler Edlin. I've been a concept artist and illustrator for the last 15 years. I've worked on some big projects, I've worked on some small projects, but I love to draw, love to paint and create, and I also teach. That said, let's get into this. The title Chiaroscuro isn't just poetic, it's a reference to chiaroscuro, the painting technique that emphasizes light and shadow. As a visual technique, it's all about dramatic lighting, sharp shadows, high contrast. This is used to shape form and emotion. This theme is everywhere in the game's art direction. And again, it's used to heighten drama and emotion. It casts characters in deep shadow while they're spotlighted by key moments with strong, focused light. This influence is clearly seen in the game's heavy use of moody lighting, deep atmosphere, and strong visual storytelling. Many of the environments themselves are bathed in a very soft haze or lit by theatrical kind of spotlights, echoing the emotional weight of the narrative. And that's the thing with lighting in this game. No matter where you look, it's always taking center stage. It shapes the mood and it guides the eye. This is always a powerful visual technique, especially in visually dense and darker scenes where clarity matters. Because this game is built within Unreal 5 and it does have a very high fidelity. So the stylization of the lighting adds a lot to the visibility for what we the viewer can take in and experience. There's been in the past games like Horizon Zero Dawn that are just so dense, so detailed. I honestly get overwhelmed looking at some of the lush and densely populated areas. And in Expedition 33, that use of volumetric lighting is pushed to the extreme, enhanced by a strong bloom effect that gives everything this surreal, radiant quality. When you compare that to, the art director Nicholas's original concept work, you can see how it has that same dramatic sense of light that absolutely carried through from those early blue sky phase paintings that he did. To me, this all just adds to that strong sense of visual identity to the world. Atmospheric perspective isn't just a classic artist trick. It's a powerful visual tool that brings a ton of mood and depth to a scene. By using shifts in color, light, and contrast, it can create a sense of mystery, amplify spooky or otherworldly vibes, and really sell the feeling of a vast distance or towering scale. Expedition 33 leans into all of that. It uses atmospheric perspective to make its world feel deep, dramatic, and full of secrets. And that's one of my favorite aspects about it. From the moment you kind of jump in, it is very clearly not our world. There are massive things floating in the sky. There is blasted landscape pieces everywhere. Nothing's exactly as we know it. Now, beyond the atmosphere, the world itself draws heavily on the Belle Epoque era. This is a time of elegance, optimism, underlying existential dread. That blend of beauty and melancholy shows up in the Art Nouveau architecture, in the ornamental detailing, and again, even in the lighting choices. Everything feels like it came from a wistful painting on the edge of fading. The world has this sense of faded grandeur, like it was once full of progress and beauty, but it is now cracked, broken, and haunted by what came after. It really captures that contrast between human ambition and inevitable decline. I've always been drawn to this era, the elegance, the charm, the sophistication that comes with it. It has a very deep cultural richness that I find alluring. It evokes a simpler time full of grace, refinement, and artistic spirit. You can see it layered in the aesthetics of the character designs, for instance. At first glance, they wouldn't look out of place in Elden Ring or Dark Souls, but they go beyond just being grotesque mutations or monstrous manifestations. Each design is deeply tied to the world and the lore, reflecting its themes and history both visually and symbolically. Art Deco also shows up everywhere. From the architecture to the way the characters dress. You see these bold, symmetrical designs in the buildings, in the UI, and the attire of the characters. It gives the world this feeling of old world elegance. You can see it dazzle the borders, to the typography, to the lacing on the clothing. It all echoes that 1920s and 30s style, but with a more mysterious, melancholic twist. With one of my favorite characters, Lune's design, for example, right? Expedition 33 strikes this great balance between elegance and wear. The gold details and geometric patterns clearly show this Art Deco influence, like she's part of some lost noble order. Her outfit feels both ceremonial and practical, again for narrative reasons. It is something like that is built for someone who's seen conflict but still holds on to tradition. The worn textures, the exposed tattoos that etch 33 into the bracelet, right? It adds this sense of personal history to it. It's a design that tells you that she's refined but not untouched by struggle. Stylish but grounded. And this is what I encourage a lot of my art students to do, is to go beyond surface level aesthetics in any kind of design. When it's a piece of building or a character, go deeper every time. But here's the real sort of lesson for you creatives out there watching. You just don't find your artistic voice a lot of the times, but you can build and craft it. Style isn't some magical trait that you often stumble across. It's something that you grow and nurture by making lots of art, lots of decisions, choosing constraints, choosing mediums, choosing time frames, and just showing up consistently and doing it. Chiaroscuro lighting, the limited palettes, the architectural choices, they're all beautiful, yes, but they're also practical. They imply detail rather than rendering every single polygon out. It's not just art direction here, it's smart production design. Expedition 33 didn't have a massive AAA budget, and that limitation helped. It forced the team to focus. Instead of creating huge, cluttered worlds, they doubled down on a few bold visual ideas, and they repeated it. And they pushed these to the max. They had to make fewer choices overall, but they made better and effective ones, in my opinion. Now, Expedition 33 feels like it comes from a singular, undiluted vision. And nowadays, I find that to be very rare. So many modern games suffer from design by committee, chasing broad appeal and watering down their identity in the process. But this game does the opposite. It's honest and it's a little somber. And that's exactly why it works. There's confidence in saying, yeah, this is a bit dark and that is okay. And it shows that you don't want some board of investors or even a large office filled with toxic positivity to make something powerful. You just need a clear vision and the guts to stick with it. Guillaume Bruch, the creative director, said in a French interview with a YouTuber how the game delves into the complexities of artistic creation and the emotional connections artists have with their work. And that even more than grief, one of the main themes of this game is the relation of an artist to their art. And as an artist, one of my most persistent struggles that I deal with is never and rarely feeling satisfied with any of the paintings or designs I come up with. And on most weeks, I deal with some level of imposter syndrome. I can never fully shake that. Or grappling the sense that a lot of my work goes unappreciated or unnoticed. It feels like the conversation is always about what sacrifices I need to make in order to grow. That's part of why Expedition 33 resonated so deeply with me. It's not just about the grief, but it's about the ongoing burden of creative struggle. The fight to keep creating, even when it's hard, even when it feels invisible. Now, I love the enemy designs in this game. They're both very visually rich, aesthetically, but they also symbolically and thematically relate back to a lot of these underlying themes in the game. Take this design here, for example. Again, I love the duality that's going on here, right? This is a striking example of the game's artistic ambition itself, right? This elegant fusion of beauty and horror, clearly influenced by surrealist and gothic tradition. I love how these cracks are filled with golden seams and how they potentially hint at the kintsugi Japanese art, of mending broken pottery with gold, suggesting the themes of embracing imperfection and the beauty of fracture, right? So cool. Or this design, one of the signature enemies you get a glimpse of earlier in the game. At the center of its chest is a smooth, porcelain-like mask framed by long, eerie, puppet-like arms. It feels like more than decoration. Maybe a soul or a hidden truth that the creature carries. Its placement suggests both vulnerability and the burden of this fractured identity, echoing many of Expedition 33's deeper themes. Or this boss here, I think he was called the Lamp Guardian. I can't remember for sure, but this is cool. This is like something out of a fever dream. It's part creature, part street lamp, part puppet, right? It's hunched, it's stitched together, has a lot of limbs, lanterns replacing weapons. It always casts an eerie glow. And of course, the twisted anatomy and the layered hands make it feel like patchwork of forgotten memories or broken creations. It's unsettling, it's surreal, and it's totally unforgettable. It was an awesome boss fight. The game is this creature race called the Gestrels, right? And they're basically all based off of those wooden art mannequins, that you always kind of see laying around, and I'm sure many of you even have. They don't just serve as, background oddities here, but a reoccurring visual motif that deepens the game's dreamlike and surreal atmosphere. It almost feels like they were left behind, like abandoned ideas or half-finished works of art. And that really fits some of the game's deeper themes around grief and creative sacrifice. They come across as quiet reminders of the things we couldn't complete or bring back, no matter how much we wanted to. This game is certainly not trying to please or appeal to everyone. And it's not trying to be safe. It's unapologetically stylized in its own way. It's very personal and emotionally driven. And ironically, that's what makes it more universal. And that's the lesson here. It's not about going wide, it's about going deep. And the paradox is this, right? The more personal the art, the more people it connects with. That might seem backwards at first. You'd think that appealing to everyone would require being broad and accessible, but Expedition 33 proves the opposite. Its strength lies in how specific it is. Every visual choice, every moment, every character feels like it came from a deeply personal place. A team that wasn't afraid to express something that was real. This isn't just a pretty game. It's a game that has something to say. About legacy, about mortality, and about beauty that we try to preserve as the world around us falls apart. You see it in the decaying elegance of the Belle Epoque era, of the architecture, the corrupted grandeur of the main city, Lumiere, and the quiet tension and the way the light and shadow play across every scene. And one of my favorite examples artistically here is that the game does feature a mysterious older character at first named Renoir, right, who appears unaffected by this curse despite being well past the age of 33. His survival itself might metaphorically relate to the real world's namesake rejection of the harsh shadows in favor of color and light, suggesting that he operates outside the traditional shadow rules. And what I mean by this is that this, I believe, is a reference to Pierre-Auguste Renoir, right? He's a French impressionist painter known for rejecting the chiaroscuro altogether. He avoided using blacks. He often painted light through color, not shadow, creating soft, dreamy scenes full of warmth and vibrancy. This contrast is more than just a clever nod here. It reflects the game's thematic tension. You're constantly moving between, the light and the dark, and not just visually, but emotionally and philosophically. Some of the characters embody grief and restraint, like Chiaroscuro's dramatic tone, while others like Renoir in the game lean more toward optimism, beauty, and the emotional richness of impressionistic expression. Now, of course, the artist himself embraced many impressionistic techniques. One, I believe, was color modeling, using vibrant, overlapping colors to depict form and depth without ever relying on the black or dark shadows. It emphasizes light, atmosphere, and perception over rigid structure. Impressionist painters used a technique called optical mixing instead of blending colors on the palette itself. They layered them on so that your eye blends them from a distance. This created a lively and textured look known as broken color. They'd use hatching, stippling, dry brushing, and even scratching into the paint to let the colors underneath show through. Bright colors were mixed right on the canvas while darker ones were blended on the palette. A lot of these bright colors were layered right on the canvas itself. And it's because of all these references, these nods, these historical ones, these thematic ones, that the emotion behind it feels so genuine and so sincere. You just don't observe the art direction in this game. You feel it. It's something that sits with you. It lingers. This is what makes it powerful. Art made by committees often just tries to please everyone and ends up saying very little. When it's created with a clear, honest voice, it's going to connect a lot more deeply. Not because it was tailored to every viewer, but because people can sense this authenticity. That's what sticks. When you design with purpose, without needing to explain every choice to a marketing team, to HR, or to a board of consultants, your work will gain clarity, and you're going to gain an audience from that. It doesn't chase trends, it creates meaning. One of the biggest creative myths out there is that in order to be successful, you need to constantly be inspired. But this is not true at all from my experience, and I do feel Expedition 33 is a masterclass in the opposite as well. And from what I can see, it has a lot to do with pure clarity, restraints, and forward-moving momentum. Concept art, despite what ArtStation might lead us to believe, isn't always about polish or a pristine level of finish. More often than not, it's fast, it's loose, and it's based on focusing and communicating a vision, right? It's about solving visual problems and testing a lot of creative ideas. You don't always need to spend hours and hours refining something to perfection, a trait in its own that's not measurable by any means. In fact, one of the strengths of looser work is the expressiveness that it can carry. It invites the viewer to engage more actively, filling in the gaps with their own imagination. That openness can be just as powerful, if not more, than something meticulously finished over and over again. And this game doesn't just mimic what came before it. It really just iterates. It takes down genres like turn-based role-playing games and narrative-driven, exploration, and reshapes them through smart, deliberate evolution. The Belle Epoque era meets surrealistic horror vibes is a very welcomed and fresh take. It's an evolution of the genre's visual language, which is commonly just filled with anime and tropes. And here's the key lesson: iteration beats imitation every single time. Too many artists fall into the trap of chasing perfection. They wait for the right moment to share their work, to launch their project, to start building that painting, believing that if they just wait long enough, the perfect vision will appear, or they'll have the right level of skill to perfect a technique. But here's the truth: it won't. Creative growth doesn't come from waiting, it comes from doing, from getting your hands dirty, making the thing, testing it, refining it, and being able to move forward even when it's messy, and especially when it's messy. Expedition 33 is a great example of this. It builds upon what came before in the genre, it reshapes it, it reinterprets it, and it evolves it. That's iteration. That's where originality comes from. Not trying to be something entirely new for the sake of it, but pushing known ideas just far enough to make them their own. Waiting for perfection stalls more creative momentum than failure ever will. Because failure teaches, movement teaches. But standing still, that just builds doubt. So if you want to grow as an artist or a creator, don't obsess over making something entirely flawless. That polish isn't the enemy of progress, stagnation is. The Sandfall team actively sought feedback and adjusted based on what they learned. That adaptability made the project stronger. And this game itself is a masterclass on using modern creative tools and in the right way. First off, let's talk about the characters. One YouTuber that goes by mr3d.dev imported the game's models and assets into Blender and did some deconstruction. It turns out they just didn't drop in Unreal's stock metahumans. They built their own characters using the metahuman rigs and DNA, which means they got all the benefits of the smooth facial animations and high quality control without sacrificing their own unique style. Honestly, it's a smart move. You can get some production ready bones and still make it your own. And get this, these expressive facial animations, they're captured with an iPhone. You can even see it here. Unreal's Live Link Face app makes this possible. So it's not like overly priced crazy gear, no insane crazy mocap studio. It's just mounting your phone to your face with a bit of a rig and recording your expressions. And boom, you got high-end facial capture straight into Unreal. It's kind of wild how accessible and affordable this tech is to everyday people like you and me. Let's talk more about the world building. In a way, their limitations became their advantage. A small team, a modest budget, and again, a clear vision. That's a creative sweet spot where every decision counts, every detail has meaning. A lot of the environment quality came from Megascans. These are ultra-detailed photo-scan textures and 3D assets made by Quixel, and Unreal gives them away for free. These are the same scans used in massive projects, like I think some of the Marvel movies uses them as well, but when an indie team uses them thoughtfully, it can seriously raise the visual bar without wrecking their schedule or budget. They pulled from these kits and from these sets what they needed, for much larger packs to support that vision that they were going for, to make sure it fit the art direction. These assets were there to elevate the vision, not replace it, and that you can support ambitious indie development without sacrificing originality. We've all seen those cheaply lookingly made asset flip games. This was not the case here at all. But I also want to take a brief moment before we conclude this to highlight a few other art-related elements in Expedition 33 that deserve a major bit of recognition. Starting with the animation. The level of care and the character movement, the attack patterns, the facial expressions is absolutely remarkable. One standout, was this animation by 3D animator Sylvain Kim, showcasing the paintress in action. Are both graceful and fierce, feeling powerful in both the animation and in-game. Interestingly enough, the attack was originally designed as a ranged move, but it also beautifully works in close combat, a testament to how well it was crafted. Then there's the sound design, which is on a level of its own. Composer Lorien Testard brought a deeply personal approach to the soundtrack. He described being given creative freedom to compose what he truly loved, aligning with the team's shared vision of melancholy and nostalgia. His music carries a quiet sadness, but also a sense of uplift, a sensitivity that lingers. Testard worked on the soundtrack for 5 years, intentionally avoiding influence from other video game scores. But with that said, he does cite Joe Hisaishi of Studio Ghibli fame and the Legend of Zelda series as past inspirations, along with his love for French music and artists, which you can definitely hear woven into the fabric of the game's studio. For me, I just love the vibes that it was giving me from Nier Automata, the way that soundtrack, it was absolutely just banger and just kind of kicked in. And it echoed for me throughout this game, and it just brought back a lot of feelings. It always hit at the right moment. But yeah, Expedition 33 stands out, not in spite of its constraints, but because of how well it used them. Every facet of this game is put together, and it just works really, really well, like a well-oiled machine. All the pieces come together perfectly, in my opinion. It's a reminder that great art doesn't need to be everything to everyone. It just needs to say something clearly and say it well. And of course, beyond grief, this game is in fact about being a creator. The sacrifices, the frustrations, the personal meaning behind making art. So if you're building a world, designing a character, or just trying to find your own voice, remember what this game teaches us. Less noise, more vision, momentum over perfection, and most of all, trust that clarity beats compromise every time. Guys, thank you for watching. If you made it to the end, I have links below for everything you need, and let me know below what you thought of the game and what games you'd like me to feature on later episodes where I break in and check out the art direction of it. Till then, I'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.